ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to say hello to a gentleman who...
Say hello to the press.
Hello, press.
This has been a long time coming, I would think. Have you been thinking about Oscar, hoping for an Oscar? I mean...
No, I don't anxiously desire to win. What I anxiously desire is not to lose.
It occurred to me, winning the nomination is probably the height of it. You can, it's about as far as you can really reasonably go.
Okay.
But when they call your name, all that goes out the window. No, I started out at age about 15 to be a movie actor. This is not this isn't serendipity, in terms of being here. This is the fight I've been fighting all my life. I have all my life wanted to be in the movies. It started on stage, so I was 20-some years on stage. So when my career started to move along on the New York stage, every time I did a play, my friends would say, yeah, this is one that's going to take you to the coast. But it wasn't until 1987 when Street Smart came out that I got to the coast. I played a pimp. The movie didn't do all that well, but I got a nomination for it.
So far, I've been sort of laid back and easy about it,
That would have been the catalyst for me. That's the one big boost.
You've been an actor for many years. You've done a lot of theater and movies and the whole thing, and all of a sudden you get this great recognition for a wonderful performance in Street Smart. How do you feel about that? All this coming your way at this time?
Well, they say things happen when they happen. They happen in their own time, and they happen for their own reasons. So I'm feeling quite well about it.
Despite his now iconic status, Freeman's journey to stardom was not immediate. It wasn't until the 1980s that he truly rose to prominence with standout performances in films such as Street Smart.
Hey, I thought you guys were great. Who do you think you patronizing now? You might take that shit, man. I don't. I don't have to go to Harvard to know what you're doing. You know what I'm trying to say to you, man? Do you? Yes, I do. Well, then shut the fuck up. You don't tell me how people react to me. I know what people are doing no matter what they say. Because I read minds, you dig? I don't take no shit off of you.
His portrayal of a streetwise hustler earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, putting him on the radar of Hollywood producers and opening doors to bigger opportunities. Freeman's career gained momentum, and by 1989, he had solidified his status as a leading actor, starring in multiple major films including Glory, Driving Miss Daisy, Lean on Me, and Johnny Handsome. In Driving Miss Daisy, Morgan Freeman played Hope Colburn, a black chauffeur working for an elderly Jewish woman in the American South.
Turn left. No, right. Turn right.
With subtlety and grace, he brought depth to the character.
You obviously like the role because you created it on stage and now you took it into film. What is it about the role that appeals to you?
Well, it's very well written and the character is very well defined. And it's not the kind of character you run into very often in your career,
It was a role grounded in a reality he understood.
Well, it was a wonderful experience. First of all, he was way ahead of me because he had played his part on the stage, so he knew it inside out and upside down. I played catch-up a bit, but I always had him to fall back on because I knew that he knew this material so well that I could ask him anything.
But along with that, of course, me being way ahead of her, and I put that in quotes, is in that capacity, I had an awful lot of unnecessary baggage because I'm coming from another medium, trying to drag this baggage along with me. And Trooper here kept saying, there's a lot of that you don't need. And so I don't want to take too much credit here. I mean,
Aside from playing the role on stage before, it was also a part that allowed him to get back to his Southern roots. Morgan Freeman was born on June 1, 1937, in Memphis, Tennessee, and raised in Mississippi by his parents, Mamie Edna Revere and Morgan Porterfield Freeman. From a young age, he displayed a keen interest in the performing arts. At just 12 years old, he won a local drama competition, solidifying his passion for acting and setting him on the path toward a career in entertainment. Although acting was a strong interest, Freeman also dreamt of becoming a pilot. As a child growing up during World War II, he often imagined himself flying fighter planes and would daydream about soaring through the skies while sitting in class.
Yes, I decided by age 15 that I wanted to be a jet pilot because I got in a lot of trouble in school flying. Teachers droning on, and I'm climbing up 15,000 feet. And then I went into the Air Force because I really did want to fly, and it was the quickest ticket out of Mississippi to elsewhere in the world.
After graduating high school in 1955, Freeman turned down a drama scholarship from Jackson State University and instead enlisted in the United States Air Force, serving for 4 years. It was during this time that he realized his dream of becoming a fighter pilot was not what he had envisioned. The rigid military hierarchy didn't suit him.
And I learned very quickly that that wasn't going to happen. I was not going to be a jet pilot, and that I was not cut out for the military.
And he soon understood that his true calling was in acting. Determined to pursue his passion, he left the military and refocused on his career in the performing arts. Interestingly, Freeman was not born with the deep, commanding voice for which he is now famous. In fact, he once possessed a strong Southern accent. It wasn't until he enrolled in acting school that he refined his speech, learning to control his breath, diction, and elocution under the guidance of his instructor.
A man named Robert Whitten at LACC here, who nailed elocution, diction, breath control, all of that into his students.
This training helped him develop the iconic voice that would later become one of his most recognizable traits. Throughout the next decade, Freeman honed his craft by performing in numerous Broadway productions. These stage experiences provided the foundation for his breakout role on television as a cast member of the children's educational show, The Electric Company.
Keep your city clean. Dig it.
The Electric Company was a success and ran consecutively during the early 70s. He left the show in 1975 to pursue more work on stage, appearing in a number of off-Broadway shows in New York, and it was a decision that would ultimately lead to his movie breakthrough in the late 1980s. For Morgan Freeman, his success on TV and film, that would slowly build throughout the 1970s and 1980s, laid the perfect foundations for his career. By the end of the 1980s, he was starring in films that were up for numerous awards and working alongside some of the finest actors in the world. One of them, the up-and-coming Denzel Washington, appeared alongside Freeman in Glory, an American Civil War epic released in 1989.
On my command! Ready!
Denzel and Morgan had met in 1979, a decade before the release of Glory, on the set of the theater production Coriolanus, a Shakespeare adaptation. Over the years, they would develop a deep respect for each other and a strong working friendship.
This great man that I've been fortunate to know and call a friend for 29 years now. He lives on the same patch of land in Mississippi that his grandparents worked. Sails his own boat by himself to the Bahamas, flies his own plane by himself around the country. Morgan Freeman is very much his own man.
But for Freeman, it would be the 1990s that would cement him as the legend he is today. The decade began with Freeman utilizing his iconic voice to narrate The True Story of Glory Continues, a documentary about the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment. It was his first narration, and with that iconic voice, it certainly wouldn't be his last.
Do you have any tips, any voiceover tips for people aspiring to sound like Morgan Freeman?
Yeah, don't aspire to sound like Morgan Freeman. I think that's a mistake. And no, I don't know of any tips, except for one thing. One thing I can tell you: if you're looking to improve the sound of your voice, yawn a lot.
Yawn a lot?
Yawn a lot. Yeah. You know why?
Why? Tell me why.
It relaxes your throat muscles. It relaxes your vocal cords. And as soon as they relax, the tone drops. The lower your voice is, the better you sound.
So if I yawned a lot,
yes,
I might start sounding like Morgan Freeman?
No, but you would certainly get a deeper voice.
He also provided the voice for Frederick Douglass in Ken Burns' miniseries, The Civil War. But his true love was acting, and whilst his voiceover work was popular, being in front of the camera was where Freeman could really shine. In 1992, Freeman collaborated with Clint Eastwood for the first time in the Western Unforgiven. The Eastwood-directed movie won numerous Academy Awards and was the beginning of a lucrative decade in film for Freeman, who had begun to establish himself as one of Hollywood's greats. Freeman made his directorial debut in 1993 with the movie Bofa. Starring Danny Glover and written by Percy Mtwa, the film was well received, with critics applauding Freeman's clear and compelling direction. The following year, he delivered a standout performance in The Shawshank Redemption, a film now regarded as one of the greatest of all time.
Rat in a tin shithouse is what.
Oh, hey, well, that's enough out of you.
I heard he had you sitting in your pants.
Fuck you. Won't you knock it off? Brooks ain't no bug. It's just institutionalized.
Both Freeman and co-star Tim Robbins did a huge amount of preparation for their roles as inmates.
Well, yeah, I talked to a lot of prisoners, talked to a lot of guards, and I spent some time in solitary confinement, had them shackle me and dress me in prison clothes and put my hair over my face so I wasn't recognized. And spent a few hours in there just listening and feeling it out. Can't pretend that I actually had a prison experience because I always knew I was going to get out. Yeah. And so I had to make the leap of faith in my imagination of what that would be like. I learned more from watching prisoners when they didn't know I was there. Looking into the eyes of an 18-year-old kid that was basically dead. You know, his eyes were dead. There was no hope, there was no life left. It was a sad thing to see.
Surprisingly, upon its initial release, the movie underperformed at the box office, earning only $16 million against a $25 million budget. Despite this, Freeman's portrayal was widely praised, earning him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor and an American Cinema Award. Interestingly, the original character in the novel the film was based on was written as a white Irishman. but Freeman was cast based on a recommendation from producer Liz Glotzer, a decision that proved justified by his deeply moving performance, described as quietly impressive and moving by the New York Times.
Interesting that in the story, in the Stephen King story, Red is an Irishman with red hair.
Why is that interesting?
Well, it's just interesting that somebody can cast you in that part and it works perfectly.
Okay, but I think we ought to just let that go and pretend that that's normal.
Yeah.
You know, that way Hollywood doesn't think that they're doing something big.
Back in 1995, Morgan Freeman, along with his business partner, American producer Laurie McCreary, co-founded Revelations Entertainment, a production company dedicated to creating thought-provoking and socially relevant content. The company has produced a diverse range of films, including Along Came a Spider, Levity, and 10 Items or Less, as well as critically acclaimed documentaries and television series. Notably, Revelations Entertainment has been behind projects such as The Story of God with Morgan Freeman, a National Geographic documentary series exploring different cultures' perspectives on faith and spirituality. Through this company, Freeman has aimed to champion narratives that inspire, educate, and challenge audiences while fostering diverse storytelling in Hollywood. That same year, Morgan Freeman delivered a powerful performance as Detective William Somerset in Seven, a role that showcased his ability to bring wisdom and gravitas to the screen. As a seasoned detective on the verge of retirement, Somerset is a man burdened by years of witnessing humanity's darkest crimes.
Who's usually on the lead to others. So many corpses roll away unrevenged.
Freeman has spoken about the appeal of the film's intelligent and unsettling script, as well as the careful direction of David Fincher, which helped create the film's tense and haunting atmosphere. He has also praised the dynamic between his character and Brad Pitt's impulsive Detective Mills, which added depth to the story. The film's shocking conclusion remains one of the most talked about moments in cinema, and Freeman's measured, contemplative performance played a key role in making Seven a classic psychological thriller.
Honestly, have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
I can tell you guys, just by looking at the scroll pattern, not the victim's fingerprints.
For the rest of the 1990s, Freeman appeared in a number of films, and while some were critically panned, Freeman always stood out, able to hold together every film he was in. By 2003, Freeman had played every character you could think of. From presidents to pimps, detectives to army generals, the breadth of his characters and his acting ability was astounding. But there was one character he hadn't yet played, and that was God. Freeman, with his unmistakable voice and quiet authority, took on the role of God in Bruce Almighty, a modern comedy exploring human responsibility and faith. He starred alongside comedy icon Jim Carrey, and the unconventional pair played off each other's sensibilities throughout the film. Freeman's role in Bruce Almighty showed his calm presence and natural authority, but his next major part took him somewhere very different. In 2004, he joined Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby, playing Scrap, a former boxer working in a rundown gym. The character was quiet, worn down, and observant. Freeman played him with subtlety, letting the emotion come through in small moments. He starred alongside Hilary Swank, who summed up her experience working with Freeman during the premiere of the film in Tokyo.
I have seen Morgan's movies for a long time, long before anyone would actually hire me as an actress. So, you know, Morgan is an icon and a legend and respected all around the world. And so for me, it was a great honor to be able to work with him. Sometimes when you don't know someone, you have this, idea of them, and you get to meet them, and sometimes they don't live up to that expectation. And getting the opportunity to meet Morgan and work with Morgan has been just so extraordinary, because the person behind that talent is just as extraordinary. And I really hope that we can find other things to do together, and that I continue to have get to know him better as a person as well.
And after decades of work, Morgan Freeman finally won an Academy Award for his role in the film.
Okay.
Hi, Morgan, over here.
Oh,
Stephen
there you are.
Shaver.
Hi, Stephen.
This has been a long time coming, I would think. You've been acting an awfully long time. Is it especially sweet at this time, ever since Driving Miss Daisy? Have you been thinking about Oscar, hoping for an Oscar? I mean...
This is kind of tricky. After Driving Miss Daisy, I became philosophical about the Oscar. It occurred to me that winning the nomination is probably the height of it. You can just about as far as you can really reasonably go. And after that, it's pretty arbitrary, because, I mean, how can any of us be best? Who can? But when they call your name, all that goes out the window.
After his Oscar-winning performance in $1 Million Baby, Morgan Freeman took on a different kind of role, one grounded in science and strategy, not emotion. Between 2005 and 2012, he appeared in all 3 films of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy as Lucius Fox, the head of applied sciences at Wayne Enterprises. Fox wasn't a flashy character. He worked behind the scenes, designing the tools and technology that enabled Bruce Wayne to operate as Batman.
He's a nice guy. He's smart, intelligent, scientist type,
Morgan, Belinda from... Sorry.
Typical. Yeah.
Belinda from Sky News.
Hi, Belinda from Sky.
Hello, were you a fan of Batman when you were younger?
I definitely was, yeah.
How much of a fan were you?
Well, I don't know. I read the comic books, same as everybody else.
Did you own a bat
I paid
suit?
10 cents and got them, yeah.
So playing in the film then, how has it been? Bit of a thrill?
Well, yeah. There have been 4 Batmans, and I've seen all of them. So here's a shot at being in one. That's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Freeman played him with calm precision, a man who understood both the science and the stakes, and who set clear boundaries on how his work was used.
If you're on...
Gave Freeman a consistent presence across the trilogy, offering practical support to the main character without being pulled into the chaos of Gotham's criminal world. It was another example of Freeman's ability to bring credibility and clarity to a supporting role, helping anchor the story in something that felt grounded and real. But behind the scenes of the second film's release, real life took a sudden turn, when Freeman was seriously injured in a car accident that nearly ended more than just his time on screen. On August 3, 2008, Morgan Freeman was involved in a serious car accident when his 1997 Nissan Maxima rolled over while driving at night. Reports indicated that he had overcorrected his steering, causing the car to spiral out of control, rolling it over several times before coming to a rest. Both Freeman and his passenger, Damaris Meyer, were trapped inside the upturned vehicle and had to be cut free by emergency responders using hydraulic cutting jaws. Freeman was then airlifted to the Regional Medical Center in Memphis, where doctors determined that he had suffered multiple fractures in his left shoulder, arm, and elbow. After a 4-hour surgery, doctors had attempted to repair nerve damage to his arm. It was expected he would make a full recovery. However, he has since been left with reduced mobility in his left hand and is required to wear a compression glove for the paralyzed hand, suffering from fibromyalgia. a medical condition that causes widespread chronic pain due to external factors which otherwise wouldn't be so damaging. Following the accident, Meyer alleged that Freeman had been drinking before getting behind the wheel and subsequently filed a negligence lawsuit against him. The case was later settled for an undisclosed amount. Soon after the accident, Freeman's lawyer announced that he and his wife, Myrna Kali Lee, were divorcing. Rumors swirled in the tabloids, fueling speculation about infidelity, alcohol, and the crash itself. However, according to the New York Daily News, Freeman and Kali Lee had actually separated in December 2007, nearly 8 months before the crash, finalizing their divorce in September 2010. Both parties declined to disclose the reason for their divorce, further fueling speculation. Meyer later expressed frustration at being wrongly labeled as the other woman and blamed for the breakdown of Freeman's marriage. She denied any involvement in their separation, stating that the accusations had unfairly damaged her reputation. Amidst the tragedy of the breakup of his second marriage, Freeman was supported by the rest of his family, one that stretches back much further. His first marriage was to Janetta Dare Bradshaw in 1967. They had a son, Alfonso, and also raised a daughter, Dina. Over the years, Freeman became a father to several children, including Saifullah and Morgana. Family remained a central part of his life. He was especially close to his step-granddaughter, Edina Hines, whom he helped raise. Tragically, in 2015, Edina was murdered, a loss that deeply affected Freeman and his family. In 2009, Freeman took on one of the most significant roles of his career, portraying Nelson Mandela in the biographical drama Invictus.
Morgan, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Now, there must be 100 million films you could make about Nelson Mandela. Why did you pick this one, and why did you think this?
I didn't pick this one. This one picked us. It just dropped into our lap. It was a perfect venue, perfect story to depict, I think, Mandela, who he is, how he thinks, how he operates. It's all incorporated in this little story.
The Africans want the franchise on the basis of one man, one vote. They want political independence. We have made it very clear in our policy that South Africa is a country of many races. There is room for all the various races in this country. But you don't have to have education in order to know that you want certain fundamental rights, you have got aspirations, you have got claims. It has nothing to do with education whatsoever. And I think the time has come for us to consider, in the light of our experiences in this stay at home, whether the methods which we have applied so far are adequate.
The film, based on John Carlin's 2008 book, Playing the Enemy, Nelson Mandela, and the Game That Made a Nation, tells the story of South Africa's unification efforts following the end of apartheid. Set during the 1995 Rugby World Cup, the film follows Mandela's efforts to bridge racial divides and bring the country together through sport.
I have warned our boys that they are playing against world champions, a very good team. But I'm sure that we have a very good chance of emerging victorious.
Here, Morgan Freeman portrays Mandela after enduring years of imprisonment and facing the challenges of leading a newly democratic nation.
And presumably you've met him a number of times.
Yes.
What was it like the first time?
Try and imagine meeting somebody that great, that well thought of, that high up in the human psyche. Meeting them for the first time.
you're pretty much tongue-tied. Well, I mean, what do you say after pleasure meeting you? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right, so that was my situation too. I didn't have anything to say after, Carl, this is an honor.
Surprisingly for Freeman, there was one aspect of playing Mandela that proved to be the most difficult.
The most challenging was the voice, accent, if you will. Everything else was easy, fell into place. And I've been watching them for years. Once I got the notion that one of these days I would be playing him on screen, it became a question of just paying close attention to him every chance I got. You know, whenever I was in his company or I see him on screen or anywhere on television or whatever, just watch him as if one of these days I'm going to have to do that.
I am aware of your earlier vote. I am aware that it was unanimous. Nonetheless, I believe we should restore the Springboks. Restore their name, their emblem, and their colors immediately. Our enemy is no longer the Afrikaner.
In 2012, Morgan Freeman received one of Hollywood's highest honors, the Cecil B. DeMille Award. Presented annually by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the award recognizes outstanding contributions to the world of entertainment. Named after legendary director Cecil B. DeMille, it has honored icons like Alfred Hitchcock, Sidney Poitier, Barbra Streisand, and Steven Spielberg. For Freeman, it was more than a trophy. It was a recognition of a career built on consistency, range, and presence, both on screen and in voice.
And there have been 58 men and women before me who received the DeMille Award. People like Gregory Peck, Clint Eastwood, Sophia Loren, Henry Fonda, Mr. Poitier. So I am truly, truly honored that you consider me worthy of being in that company.
The award was presented by Sidney Poitier, a trailblazer in his own right, and the first black actor to win an Academy Award for Best Actor. The moment was symbolic. One generation of groundbreaking talent honoring the next. A passing of the torch, not just between actors, but between legacies.
Though they call it the Cecil B. DeMille Award, in my house, it would also be known as the Sidney Poitier Award.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, Freeman didn't just donate, he mobilized. He co-founded Planet Now, an organization aimed at helping coastal communities prepare for and recover from devastating storms. His commitment to rebuilding wasn't a one-time gesture. It became a mission. But nature isn't his only concern. On his Mississippi ranch, Freeman transformed 124 acres into a sanctuary for bees. With over 24 hives, he's taken a personal stand for the environment and the planet's most essential pollinators. Education, too, is close to his heart. Through foundations like the Tallahatchie River Foundation, he's worked to improve early childhood education in the Mississippi Delta, investing in the next generation of thinkers, dreamers, and doers. From disaster relief to environmental preservation, from classrooms to conservation, Morgan Freeman's legacy off-screen is one of quiet, steady service. Freeman has used his voice to support political and social causes. He publicly endorsed Barack Obama's presidential campaign, but made it clear that he would not be directly involved in campaigning. Later, he provided narration for a campaign video for Hillary Clinton during her presidential bid.
Her life's work has been about breaking barriers, and so would her presidency. Which is why for every American who's not being paid what they're worth, who's held back by student debt or
In
a system tilted
2021,
against
he
them,
also appeared in a
and there are
public service
far too
announcement
many of
urging
you.
people to get vaccinated during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, this sparked controversy on social media, with some questioning his involvement and intent. This wouldn't be the first time he found himself in controversy. In 2018, amid the rise of the Me Too movement, CNN published an investigation in which 8 women accused him of making inappropriate comments and being overly flirtatious on film sets and at his production company. The allegations fueled debate, particularly given Freeman's long-standing career and reputation. Additionally, his past professional connection with actor Bill Cosby, whom he worked with on the children's television show The Electric Company, led to further scrutiny. Cosby was convicted of aggravated indecent assault in 2018, though his conviction was later overturned by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. In response to the accusations against him, Freeman issued a statement apologizing to anyone who may have felt uncomfortable due to his remarks, saying, "Anyone who knows me or has worked with me knows I am not someone who would intentionally offend or knowingly make anyone feel uneasy. I apologize to anyone who felt uncomfortable or disrespected. That was never my intent." No legal action was taken against him, and several journalists publicly defended him in the wake of the allegations. In the years that followed, Morgan Freeman continued to do what he's always done: work, quietly, purposefully. He took on a steady stream of film roles, often in supporting parts that brought depth and credibility to the story. In The Comeback Trail, Angel Has Fallen, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, Paradise Highway, and A Good Person, he played mentors, leaders, and men who'd seen enough of life to speak with quiet authority.
I know how hard it is to get here. It's damn near impossible, and you did it. Don't run away now because of me.
There are thousands of meetings. I'll find another one.
Wow, yeah, but this one has the best snacks.
I want to go.
No, you've made it this far, and I wouldn't.
I don't want to be here.
Nobody does in the beginning.
I don't want to be anywhere.
Then you are definitely in the right spot.
He remained a trusted narrator, still the voice that made complicated things feel clear and big ideas feel personal. He brought that voice to projects like The Story of God, Our Universe, and Great Escapes with Morgan Freeman.
This is a typical cell in one of the most notorious prisons ever built in Europe. The accommodations are sparse. This is not some Victorian dungeon. This is 1980s Northern Ireland. It's a prison built next to a British military base. Its name, The Maze.
Off-screen, he stayed active in causes that mattered to him. He supported arts education, helped fund scholarships, and turned part of his Mississippi land into a sanctuary for honeybees. He opened his Ground Zero Blues Club to keep Southern music and history alive, hosting local artists and community events.
All right, we'll sing. Now when I walk, you walk with me. And when I talk, baby, you talk to me. Yeah. But you got to help me. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. Said if you don't help me, I'm about to find myself somebody. I'm gonna play the harp.
In 2024, Freeman returned to the Oscar stage, not to receive, but to honor. He delivered a deeply moving tribute to Gene Hackman, calling him one of the last great originals, and a reminder of a time when character mattered more than celebrity.
Gene always said, "I don't think about legacy. I just hope people remember me as someone who tried to do good work." So I think I speak for us all when I say, Gene, you'll be remembered for that and for so much more. Rest in peace, my friend.
One legendary actor saluting another, and it reminded the world that Morgan Freeman wasn't just part of Hollywood history. He was one of its caretakers. He never chased reinvention. He didn't need to. He kept showing up with grace, with intention, and with a deep sense of responsibility to his craft and to the people it reaches. Morgan Freeman's career spans more than 5 decades, but his impact reaches far beyond film. He became known for his distinctive voice, his calm presence, and his ability to bring depth and honesty to every role, whether he was playing a driver, a prisoner, a president, or a god. He never relied on flash or spectacle. He trusted the power of quiet strength. He came to major stardom later in life, after years of steady work on stage and screen. And when it came, he used it with intention, not just to entertain, but to enlighten. Freeman has narrated some of the most important documentaries of our time. He's brought complex ideas into homes around the world. He's supported science, civil rights, education, and the environment, not just in his words, but in his actions. He hasn't chased headlines. He's avoided the spotlight when it wasn't necessary, but he's always stood for something: dignity, integrity, and thoughtfulness. Morgan Freeman is more than an actor. He's a symbol of persistence, of discipline, and of the kind of excellence that doesn't shout. His legacy isn't just in the films he's made or the awards he's won. It's in the generations he's influenced, the voices he's helped shape, and the example he set that success isn't just about talent. It's about patience, focus, and staying true to who you are. Morgan Freeman told stories, and in doing so, he became a part of ours.
Have you any? How can you have an ultimate ambition? Because you know, when you achieve that, you might well shoot yourself.
Not a healthy thing to have then.
No, I don't think I have an ultimate ambition. My ultimate ambition is to live forever.
I've got a feeling that you might not achieve that one.
I might not. There's no reason not to try.